What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Virzi Effect podcast show. My name is Paul Virzi, and you guys are listening to episode 474. And I have an episode that I wanted to do for a while now, especially during this pandemic. I've had my eye on these two fucking dudes just murdering, and it's been so fun to watch, and I wanted to get them on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the hilarious Ryan Long and Danny Polishchuk. Did I say that right, Danny?
Yeah, you got it.
Good. I always stress when on the dismount.
I don't think I've ever said his name right in 10 years.
No, probably not. It's I have like an allowance. Like I'm like, if you're close, I'm like, that's fine.
You know what's funny is my last name is Virzi, and it has been fucked up.
I thought it was like Virzi or something.
Yeah, man, it's been fucked up since kindergarten because it's VI. So people think the VI is like veer, and it's really ver. But you know, anyway, guys, wanted to have you on the show, man. Wanted to have you on the podcast because, like I said, you know, when I opened, you guys, the shit you guys are doing right now is so fucking refreshing. It's so fucking hilarious, and in my opinion, it's so fucking spot on because it's like a time where it's needed, and to just see how you guys are just hitting on the lunacy and the ridiculousness from all sides, and I'm a comedian that if you watch my stand-up and if I've ever talked about anything political, one of my favorite, things that people say to me after they saw my special was, man, when you went into that joke, I didn't know if you were conservative or, I got nervous.
Right.
And then I didn't know. And it's like, yeah, because I'm not going to alienate half my crowd. I'm going to just talk about the ridiculousness. And then you guys are doing this with these fucking incredible videos. The one that got me, I'm going to be honest with you, the one that I was like, I got to talk to these fucking
thanks for retweeting it, dude. I mean, we both knew who you are and stuff, so it's cool. Like, when we moved here. Like,
I appreciate that. But I fucking, the one that got me, and you guys have some that probably have more hits than this, but dude, the one where you guys ran up to Chris Scopo and fucking when they were eating at the stand.
The Fox,
dude, the Fox and the CNN, and you were just like, hey, did you want to watch the cops kill a black guy? And then Danny runs up and he goes, hold on, I got the whole story. I was like, that's it. It was so fucking perfect. Now you guys are from, where are you from?
Canada. We both moved here like a year ago.
So where in Canada? Because I had to actually years ago I toured Canada with Burr, and we went from Moncton to fucking Victoria and everywhere in between, 22 days straight. Yeah.
Wow. That's
just
serious.
3-day drives where you don't see a fucking single thing.
Dude, we were
hopefully you flew.
Dude, we were hopping on small planes. We were
there you go. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, dude, we did places I never thought. I mean, small. I'll tell you the biggest bunch of animals. I've never seen animals like Calgary in my life, dude. Like, I'm not even joking. Yeah. We were in Calgary and we were like in this like plane hangar, like a big, like almost like a tent, but like it looked at a plane, and they were just bring your own BYOB beer cans. And they were shouting shit. There were beer cans. They're having a good time. But I was just like, holy dude, Calgary was like just like South Jersey of.
They're cowboys, dude. Dude, these guys work on an oil rig for like 4 months a year. Then they make like 150 grand, and then they just come back to the city and do coke for 8 months straight
and just blow it all, and then just do it again. Like we know so many. Like if you live in Canada, everybody knows 10 guys like that.
Yeah, they make make like 170 grand a year in like 4 months, and they're like, "I'm broke," and you're like, "Well, you have a 70 grand truck that you buy yearly, a 70 grand huge
new truck every year,
new truck, and also you're doing $1,000 of coke a night at strip clubs." So,
dude, you guys are maniacs. You know what's so awesome is that you guys. I was talking to Big J Okerson about this. How guys from Philly, there was like a bunch of guys from Philly who came up here to New York, and they were
you and like what, Kurt Metzger and him and like
so it was basic. Well, I'm a New York guy always, but
you're in New York. I thought you were saying
no, I'm saying like I was talking to Jay, and it's like Jay and Kurt Metzger, but now there's guys like you know, Ryan.
Dave Temple's from there.
Dave Temple and you know, Kevin Ryan and Foley and all those guys.
Those guys are funny.
No, those guys are great, but like you guys come here from Canada and you did something that I thought was awesome. And what it is that like a lot of Canadians, man, and I don't want to be disrespectful to your country, but a lot of
that country stinks. You can shit on Canada all you want.
No, why do you think we're here?
No,
we escaped that communist hellhole.
A lot of Canadians come here and it's just always, it's from what I've seen. Let me say from what I've seen, it's always like this like liberal, like always like far left.
They're
like
pussies is what you're saying?
What's your country doing? What's your country doing? I can't believe you guys did that. And then you guys came in and you guys are like, no, dude, the absurdity on both sides. And we're going to fuck with everybody and say everything.
That's so funny that the way that you're saying, because even on that CNN Fox thing, it's like, I was thinking of this the other day when can't remember who I was watching arguing. I was like, all right, so like one side, you think their guy's lying, they think you're lying. And we're like, yeah, we just think they're both lying. It's like not that crazy of a position. No. We're like, no, my politicians are all like bang on. And then your side's a bunch of liars. We're like, yeah, they're all lying to you. Just like news flash.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how I'm like, what you're doing is refreshing, but what you're doing is normal, logical, down-to-earth thinking. And because of the times we're in, it's like, that's refreshing. It shouldn't be. It's like you guys are doing something what normal people do where you're looking around going, can't you guys see what the media is doing?
Dude, I've said that exact point about comedy because like, I think we both had this where people go like, you know, it's so crazy. Like I watched your like comedy special and you're just like doing comedy and you're like, that's my like wild niche that like I
yeah, I know.
This guy like crazy. Just telling
you're not going on and like rambling on about how Bernie Sanders is the best without like a single punchline. You're like, yeah.
I didn't get a lecture at the comedy club. This is random comedy.
We did a big benefit show in the city, and I don't want to mention names, throw anybody under the bus, but one comedian goes up and they just go, everybody's just doing their shit. And some shit was edgy and dark, and some shit was great stories and great, you know, maybe quick jokes. And then this one comic just goes up and they were just like, how the fuck can anybody like Trump? I fucking despise the man. And the crowd,
hot take.
And the crowd was the crowd was confused, and everyone was just going like, and listen, this is not I'm not some pro Trump, but it's just kind of like, what are you like, what are you doing?
I wonder, honestly, maybe we'll like off air, because I did a show, one of those like stand-up New York shows in Central Park or whatever. Yeah. And in the summer, and then as I was like the second last comic, and I just like left. And as I'm walking away, the guy who went up last just goes on. He goes, I fucking hate Donald Trump. Like he's opening. And I'm like, oh, this is like an act. Like this is a bit, right? And I'm like, and then there was no reveal. You're like, oh, you're just I'm like, what is this? I wonder if it's the same guy. Because I honestly, I was like, I thought, I'm like, oh, you're doing like a funny, like you're doing like a character, like Colbert reporter or something. Like there's some sort of reveal
this is
here.
Gonna end. Yeah, this is gonna end with you going, that's my uncle at Thanksgiving. Like it's
something. And then it was just like this rant, and then he goes, all right, time to get to the meat.
Even if you do believe this, you're like from any artistic perspective, you go, even if you believe this, it's been said.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're like really famous, it's like, you know, a guy that's has no money and no experience in business that's got another idea for like an app that delivers food. You know, it's like whatever you think. If you're like a comic that's going up there without a late night show and your hot take is that Trump's bad, you're like, it's been said, pal. I believe that's been covered.
Yeah, but it was his like opener. So you're like, because you don't know the guy yet. Like if you're the audience, you're like, oh, I don't really know this guy. So you're like, maybe this is like it's not in the middle. Right. And then there was nothing there.
Yeah, it's
just he just doesn't like him.
Yeah, it's brutal, and it's so fucking easy. It's so easy and weak to just go up there and just to say that shit. And it's almost just like my dad moved to Florida, dude. My dad's over the top. I mean, my dad is an over the top
Trump guy.
Far right wing. Oh, loves him.
Hell yeah,
loves him. I mean,
just finding Fox News.
Oh, dude, I love talking. No, my dad's like against Fox News because they're too liberal for him.
Is he called? Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, he's like those fuckers turned on him.
he thinks they can cuck the tuck, is what you're saying.
Oh, dude, he thinks they turn their back on him. He's like, fuck that news. Those, Sean Hannity's a bitch, and I'm just like.
Did he like burn his Tucker Carlson shirt like people burn LeBron jerseys when he like, like he has the Instagram video of just like him burning LeBron.
But like my dad was just like, I guess my dad was on he was out somewhere, he was smoking a cigar, and some woman was just going.
He calling Breitbart libtards.
He goes, I hate, this woman just walked in, and my dad's just sitting there. And my dad's as much as he's a very conservative guy, very nice guy, he just minds his business. But this woman is just ranting and raving. And she's going, I hate Trump. I can't. It's just like one of these things. And my dad's just like looking at her confused. And my dad goes, so nicely, he goes, excuse me, ma'am, can I just ask you, I'm just curious. Like, you seem like you have so much hate for this. Like, what exactly, like, why do you hate him that much?
And they show you some literature.
And she had to be she had to be like escorted. Like she lunged.
On your dad.
Yeah, she was like, excuse me?
And she's going, how do I not like him? How do I not like him? And like a woman had to like restrain her. And my dad was just going, I do think that Trump
Your dad's like, that's the 4th time that's happened today.
Yeah, it's like, Dad, how about you stop asking people what you don't like?
He's like, I don't know what it is. He's like wearing a MAGA hat. He goes like, I don't get it.
You got a cup that says liberal tears. I don't know what it is.
No, dude, I love what you guys are doing, dude. It really is like beyond, and I don't mean any disrespect to SNL, but it's like SNL like heyday type shit. It's like I really like. I'm not just saying this to make you feel like,
there's so much fear involved with like what everyone's doing, but there is like. It's hard to even jump in anything, but we were, both of us like kind of were doing this kind of stuff for a long time in Canada. And it is in places like that. It's kind of like, do you know in New York, there's kind of the mainstream, but then there's like a counterculture of like comics and stuff like that. Whereas if you lived in like Portland, for example, or even anywhere smaller, those scenes are a little more, there isn't like room for a counterculture. So in Canada, like if the only really game in town is to kind of be part of the industry system. So everyone's like petrified to say what they really believe. Yeah. Dude, we have a friend, like our friends, there's this thing called Adamson's Barbecue in Canada. And it's basically like a barbecue shop, and he opened up against lockdown rules. And so basically that's the whole thing. He's like, fuck you. I'm going to open my store and I'm selling my barbecue or whatever, right? They started have protestings outside. And our friend had a food show where they just did an episode there, and they were like terrified.
In the summer, before any of this stuff even happened.
And then finally they did release it, and everyone was calling them Nazis. And this guy, they go, he's a white supremacist because he wanted to open up his barbecue shop. And it's like, it's just the level of like fear you have to live in those. But as soon as you say like, all right, whatever, get mad at me, I don't care, it is like somewhat liberating. Like, I'm just going to say what I think. And instead of looking at the industry to like tell you, you're just like, I'll actually just say what I actually think. And because, what my friends and me like talk about.
And as soon as you did that, as soon as you guys did that, I'm sure your numbers went through the roof. And it's like, it's crazy because, I have a manager and an agent at big agencies, and they're just like, hey man, like, I know that there are some things that, cause I'm so centrist and I see the absurdity in both. But when I say the absurdity in one, it's different. So it's almost like, there is free speech, but it's free speech what you want to hear. So it's like, you got to watch things. And, when I have, we're right now I'm working on a show, and I'm working on a new special, and I got a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes I even find myself where I'm like, well, no, dude, that's not right or fair. That's not right or fair. But then I don't need somebody calling me, go, hey man, we got a big meeting next week. So, dude, and I'll be honest, and I'm just kind of like, well, no, listen, I got a family, man, and I'm trying to build my stand-up career, put my third hour out, and do all this stuff.
And you're not trying to get fucking canceled.
Yeah, but at the same time, I still want to say, what it really is, and somebody's, and listen, you're not going to please everybody. I mean, I've upset people many times, and I have no problem doing that. But when you say something that's normal and rational, and a group of people go after you, that's when I think it's.
Well, I've been saying that too. It's like people say like, okay, well, why are you making fun of like the woke left kind of more than the other thing? And it's like, well, that's the one that's declared war on me and my friends. It's like, like right wing isn't trying to collect the property of comedy to put in their like breadbasket. You know what I mean? Like left wing's trying to own comedy because it's, a bastion of like speech or whatever. And they think they should have like an authoritarian stronghold on like public like general consensus. So it's like, that's why it's like, if you have a mom and dad, what everyone's telling you what to do more is the one you're going to be kind of like rebelling against.
Dude, Ryan, that's so perfect, man. I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like that's why, that was what I was just saying, where like, if you say something like that, even as a centrist or somebody that sees the absurdity on both sides, but you go, well, how come when I'm at a comedy show and somebody comes up and complains, is somebody on the far fucking left, but somebody who's even if you want to say a crazy Trump supporter, that dude's just going to drink and leave. So say what you want.
They have their own issues, but like no one's listening to them or gives a shit. So they're yelling into a well.
And it used to be and it used to be the exact opposite. Like it was literally like you would get yelled at by the far right people while the far left people were like, let them say whatever they want.
They used to be the free speech side.
Yeah, and then they literally just flipped completely.
It's funny how everybody's just flipped. Like you're like, so I don't even know what to say, what to believe. So I just basically, I fucking keep my mouth shut. I do my stand up. I'm definitely never going to really censor myself on stage with stand up. That's something that like, when I talk on podcasts, I'll always be like, all right, listen, I don't want to say, I kind of try to have the line. Sometimes if I'm drinking, I'll be like, fuck it. But, if I got a couple red wines and I'm on a podcast, me and Bobby Kelly have said some shit, but with my stand-up, it's just like, look, man, this is how I feel. And I'm the type of stand-up, I don't know what you guys do when you do stand-up. I'm the type of stand-up where my night and mood and that particular set dictates what I'm going to do. I'm not going in with a plan. I'm going in kind of going like, let's feel this out. And that came with a lot of experience. But if I see something in the crowd or somebody yells something, I'm talking right now about racism a lot and how like, there's like old racism and new racism, it's like money. And my dad is like old racism, he's just like, it's not bad, it's just the neighborhood he grew up in. He's never going to hurt anybody. But then you get like the guys who have Klan meetings and shit, and they're in their 20s and you're like, that's the shit. But as soon as you talk about that, man, you'll hear like one woman was in the crowd. She goes, what do you mean? What's considered like arms crossed? And I'm going like, can you listen to the fucking joke?
I think also you're at a comedy, like she bought tickets to a comedy show. Like she's not like, you didn't just like walk up to her while she's eating dinner in a restaurant and start being like, I'm going to start talking to you.
Yeah.
Like she knows she's at a comedy show. Like give it a fucking minute. Like,
yeah, we did a sketch, that's coming out Monday. That's like
1 second, guys.
Yeah.
Just fucking plug this in. Go ahead, I'm listening.
What are you plugging in? He's like, I just gotta plug in my flashlight. 1 second. That lady getting mad at me at the place just got me a little going. But no, we did this like sketch this week about like a Vice blogger rehabilitation because they just like see oppression everywhere and they can't like they can't just walk down the street like it's showing, what do you see in this photo? And it was like, I see oppression, a victim that needs my help. And it's like, this is an apple, and it's just everything's like that. But at the end of it, it's like the guy's better now. And he goes, yesterday I went to a comedy show and I just laughed. I didn't blog about it. I just laughed. He's like, he's better now. He's rehabilitated back to like being a normal human after 4 years of Vice magazine just wrecked his brain.
So let me ask you guys about, that's fucking great. Let me ask you guys about this. When you guys were doing this in Canada and you guys were doing these YouTubes and stuff like that, was there like an epiphany to go, hey man, we're going to go to the States and do this? Or was that always the plan?
We were trying to get we were both trying to like get like the papers to come here. Like mine took almost 3 years.
Yeah, it's hard.
But we've done a bunch of the different stuff. Like Danny made a movie. I had a series at CBC, and then I was doing the videos for this Hard Time show, and I had like a show that was kind of like the Ali G show and stuff. So I've always personally like, our stand-up was always like more of this kind of stuff. And then in the other things like a CBC show and blah, blah, it was always me like putting in as much of it as possible. So there's always, like I did at the CBC, I squeaked in like a sketch about like bouncers against racial prejudice. And it was like very similar to what, and then we did like a male feminist
publication. It was much more delicate at there.
It's a little,
like CBC is basically like the government. So it's like,
they had to prove scripts.
Tell them about the fucking, and they had like these check boxes and shit. It's crazy.
I had to trick them into it. I essentially made this sketch about the government being bad. It was like basically the government took over weed in Canada, right? And they were like making a mess of it, like they kind of do with everything. And I made this sketch about how the government shouldn't be running everything, and I like tricked them into thinking it was just about weed, but I like essentially got the government to pay for a sketch about why the government's bad. That was one of my prime
and how it wastes money. And then we were like in there, like the CBC's like this giant boardroom filming it while we're like basically shitting on them like in a roundabout way for like wasting money
with their money.
With their money, or
government weed dispensaries. So I thought, there was we've been both like doing some version of this stuff for a while, and then our stand-up's always this, but it was more that it's hard to like build like a proper following from Canada. So really it was more just like when we moved here, I was like, okay, I'm not going to take any more industry jobs. I kind of stopped doing, like, again, I was working with 5 different places, like, as a director and producer and all that stuff. And I said, I'm just going to focus on like the New York club system, doing the podcast and doing my own videos and doing the same thing that we were doing there. But like, because I built, like, I helped build the CBC platform. I helped build like the Hard Times video department, like all that stuff. And then I was like, well, I'll just do the same thing, but like from my perspective on my channel. And then that's, kind of the same thing we both did.
Yeah. And I don't think, I haven't seen 2 people do videos that are better. I think
Thanks, dude. It's the thing of like, that happens a lot with Canada back in the day, and I think less so now because of what you said, that there's a lot of like fear involved, and also a lot of those small places sort of teach you how to be like an employee and then that's never like that great. But there is something to be said about,
especially under.
Oh, I was just thinking, both of us were like for the last 10 years doing shows like 3 a night for 10 years, like in a place where like no one's really paying attention. And it has its own little ecosystem, like whatever, we were both headliners and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of like the industry, there's nothing that comes of it. So there's also no one getting involved. So even that thing of, for us, like once we were like, okay, we're doing our own little thing. We had a comedy club with like 5 of our friends that were all doing our little thing. Like you said, with the scene in Philly, there was like 5 of us at this place, the Corner Comedy Club, like inventing our own little style and doing a thing. Yeah. And then because when you see a lot of people get here, like they start getting really popular 3-4 years in, and it really like stunts their thing. And then they start kind of like, okay, they start doing the, down the middle system because they're in the game, where I think like playing on the fringes allowed us to kind of be like a punk band where we had our own little like world and no one infected it. So then when we came here, everyone's kind of like, yo, what the hell is this? And it's like, this thing you like built over, those videos, like people are like, oh, how do you do those videos? And you're like, I don't know, like, for the last 20 years, like make videos every week. You know what I mean? And then
yeah. So it's like you guys, and it's really interesting what you brought up, because it's almost bad when you get here, or not just New York, but when you get into comedy as a whole itself, have a career and things pop early. It's not good. It's not good.
Might be good for your career. It's not good for your art. That's for sure.
No. And you guys were doing something for so long, and it's kind of the same thing with stand-up. It's like, nothing, dude. I mean, this business didn't give a fuck about me until about 15 years in.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, but
you were good. Yeah.
But I was ready. So it's like, you want me to go, this show, that show, the special album. I was just ready because I had great shows, terrible shows, and everything in between. Some guys are like, oh, 2 years in, industry gives them the keys. And then it's like, then you got to fucking go out there and do it. Where it's like, you guys with the videos, you guys are like, where your videos are at was what you were basically training for. And you came here, you guys remind me a lot of, in a way, of a friend of mine now, and a guest who was on my show, and I just did his podcast, was Tom Green. Because
Tom Green's my favorite, dude. He was
Tom
like
Green.
My hero.
That was like when I was a kid, like that was my favorite show.
So I had Tom Green on the show, and he's the fucking best. And then he just interviewed me on his show, and we were just talking stand-up. We were talking everything, but to have the balls. Seriously.
He was like super nice to me, like when we first started too. Like,
dude, he's
I had a little like
nice.
public.
He's the nicest.
I had a public access show when I was like 25, and he would like come do like appearances, like for no reason, just to be nice and stuff. Like the man.
No,
and he brought me on tour. Yeah,
he's fucking great, and it's like you guys had the fucking balls to kind of do what he did. You were doing something that you were excelling out there.
It doesn't seem like balls when you're good at it, though. When like you watch a comic, it's like. Like there's some of these guys that you watch and you're like, how do they say that? But you're so in it, doesn't feel like that. And I think even like the race stuff, especially, like we'll do all this like race stuff and people are like, what are you can't do that. And you're like, to me, it's like, didn't feel like that at all. Cause I go, I've done this on stage. Like 1,000 times. It's like, that's just how I talk about race stuff. And like,
it's comedy. It's like,
exactly. It's comedy. And it just doesn't like feel weird because you're like maybe we're in your like little bubble too, but it's like, it kind of,
no, that's your fucking wheelhouse. It's like, when I was just like touring after the special and I actually did the Garden, man. I got to do the Garden in the round with Burr.
Pretty sick.
And it was like 18,000.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did a joke twice.
On the by accident?
I did. No. I'm saying I did it. No. Yeah, I did it. No, I did a joke. I did it once at the Cellar and once at New York Comedy Club. And somebody goes, dude, you got to close the Garden with that. I only did it twice. And I fucking went up there. I went up there and I closed with it. And it fucking tore the place down to the point where when Burr got on stage, he fucking addressed it. He goes, Virzi, that's a new joke or something. And people were like, why would you do that? And it's like, I felt it. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I know what you're saying. It's not ballsy to me because
it doesn't feel ballsy. Yeah. It's like you have it's like, it's like someone might say, oh, you watch someone go try to pick up a girl and be like, yo, the ball's on you. But if it's a pickup artist, it's like everyone's like, well, how did he do that? And you go pick up that girl. You're like, that's like his whole thing. It's like, it's not anything to him. Like that was the equivalent of,
but I think that's why you guys are successful, because you're not looking at it like that. You're looking at it like, yo, let's go do what we do and have fun.
Go do what you do. Yeah.
Go do what you do and have fun. And
like, Tom Green's like, how are you humping a dead moose? He was like, honestly, I was just like, that's like what I do. I saw something. He was like, wouldn't it be funny if we do that? It was just probably nothing to him. And like that, that probably was one of the first ones that like really went crazy. But you like, there's this, and everyone's like, there's this fucking guy. He's like going filming videos of him humping dead moose and stuff. But at him, he was like, I don't know. I just like
when he painted his dad's car with the slut mobile. Oh my God.
Yeah, but it works up to that. Like that wasn't the first thing he did to his parents. That was like that all in his mind thing that he does, that he goes and messes with his parents, and it pushed it. And your friends are doing the same thing. And before you know it, you're all kind of doing insane things. Like it's that little scene. It's like why I do agree with you completely with those little pockets. It's like, that's why all the best like bands always come from one little area, or the best because you have a bunch of people that created a thing and they're pushing each other further and further and further until like anyone who doesn't do that just sees it and they're like, how the fuck are they doing that? And you're like, well, it was incremental.
And I think that we don't even realize, and we can't remember back, but this was from childhood for sure. Because I remember saying to Tom Green, I go, dude, you did some wild shit. Like, were you? And he goes, dude, when I was a little kid, he goes, my parent, like, he was just he goes, I was always kind of an out there kid. And, with me, I had my issues and stuff. So it's like, you guys were probably in some weird way, without knowing it, seeing things in the world and the absurdity.
Well, troublemakers. I think that's the best way to describe
definitely
it.
Troublemakers.
Danny wore a No Ma'am shirt when he went to Birthright.
I got in a lot of trouble for that one.
Yeah, I was like, I was that guy that like, was suspended and expelled from everywhere and then kicked. Just like, that was just like, going to the friggin', when you're 12 years old, going to the friggin' mall, getting in fights, getting kicked out, like making videos of at someone else's school, and you get banned from whatever, just like the whole, just nonstop like trouble. And it's like, so that's why the other day someone was like, that's so crazy stuff you do. And I'm like, this is the least crazy version of me that I'm saying.
This is the most tame version of Ryan anybody's ever known.
Danny knows. I was fucking insane when I was 20. It's like now, people that like knew me growing up, it's someone be like, you should watch what Ryan's crazy. Like, what he's saying wild stuff on a podcast. It's like a lot better than, getting arrested at his graduation or whatever the fuck.
That's hilarious. No, I've been arrested. I've been arrested a couple times too.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's just probably you know what I mean? Like, you funneled your troublemaking into, being a comedian, and it's like, that's a more adult way to funnel your, like, I don't know, rebellious tendencies or whatever you want to call it.
Now, do you both do stand up as much as the videos?
Not right now, we don't.
Not right now, not really. Trying to, but
wherever you can.
I'm at the stand. I'm at the stand later tonight. Something.
They're doing it.
I'm doing some
outdoors,
weekends,
but it's like fucking 45 degrees outside. So I'm like,
it's so cold.
It's like, I don't know what's going on.
Dude, the last show I was at, that's the only thing I was thinking. Like, I am freezing right now. This is crazy. I'm like, the audience was doing this for like 7 comics. This is nuts.
Do you guys have any?
We're going to Tampa. Me and Danny are doing a theater in Tampa, December 12th.
That's fucking.
But I don't know, man. like, you know, a few shows a week, and then I've been doing weekends, but like, it's just from an efficiency standpoint. Like I'm said, for the last 10 years, I was doing 3 shows a night. Like I have such a system where it's like I write in the morning, then I do the first show, second show, and then by the third show I have this. And I just have this like crazy like efficiency system of how I do stand up. So when you like take that away, it's like, why like half-ass that, you know, and it makes more sense to put the attention into other places. And then when that comes back, like go full force, you know? So.
Yeah. You guys, families, married, kids, nothing?
We both like moved. We both had like girlfriends, then we moved.
I had a girlfriend before I moved that did not work out.
Yeah, it probably didn't work out because you were like, I'm going to America to go.
Yeah, I'm moving to a new country.
Yeah, we both uprooted our lives.
You can't come.
Crazy, yeah.
I'm going to do something fucking really cool without you.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm going to move to America. And she's like, yeah, we're going to move to America. Yeah, definitely something we could talk about.
I mean, I only laugh because that's like pretty much exactly how it shook out.
For sure. Like,
we'll cross the bridge when we get there. And we're like, we're at that bridge. I go, when we get there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a conversation to be had.
It's a conversation to be had down the line. And she goes, we're here right now.
We've crossed the bridge and it exploded after we crossed it.
As you're packing your bags.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, but you know, it's kind of, if you're like doing entertainment in Canada and you want to do anything important, like you kind of know that you have to move to America. So it's like, it takes a while to do it, but it's like, I think even when like you're the last person I was like dating for a couple of years, like there's a point where you kind of won't allow you to get like crazy serious because you know that you eventually have to move, and unless you're ready to bring that person, which would be very hard to kind of go start a new life, be responsible for someone else too, to make the right move. So it just wasn't.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It is a tough one.
That being said, I do have another girl here now. I mean, we've been here for a year.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. So you guys are in Brooklyn, or where are you at?
East Village.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You run around. You could do the spots and the videos same day.
Dude,
nice.
we both like the thinking was because like, you know, I thought the Stand was like such the coolest place. Like even just it kind of reminded me of what I was doing, whereas like I really saw that as like a hub for fucking culture and like what was kind of on the pulse. And I thought Patrick was really smart with that stuff. So in that place, kind of both of us, like they responded well to. And when we got in all the clubs, it kind of was like, okay, this would be a good place, doing this place in the Village a lot. And then when COVID happens, like, all right, well now I'm just paying $2,500 a month to live like live in a 1-bedroom apartment, like for no reason. Because dude, I have a bunch of, especially now that, you know, with the YouTubes like and podcasts, it's so much of the income. I go, dude, I have friends that, you know, are kind of spending what I'm spending on, and they're like, they have a compound, you know, you could move an hour to the city. Like our friends, we just visit there's this dude that we're working on a movie potentially with this dude. And they're like these tech guys, and they went to the dude's house. He has this essentially mansion that has a basketball court in it.
He has a full-size basketball court. It's in Austin. He has like an NC, like the center court, because you're a sports guy, right? Center court is like NCAA Final Four Austin court.
Wow.
Right. So in my mind, like, so how much did it cost you? Like, what is it? How much is this? Like $1 trillion? Is this $1 trillion?
It's just non-existent.
But it's
unless
like
you go to Long Island.
You told me it was like, I don't know, maybe like 35-40 million or whatever, which is
no. It was less than. It was maybe 5 or 10 million.
See what I'm saying though? Like in my mind, I was like, oh, I guess this is infinity dollars. So, just I've lived in Toronto and New York my whole life.
I mean, there's penthouses in New York that cost like 10 times as much as that place.
I always had this idea for a sketch where there's a real estate broker who just comes from nothing, and as he's showing the house, he can't believe how ridiculous it is. So he's just overly aggressive. You know, he's like, there's a fucking hot tub in the fucking back. Like, how are you not buying this? And like, he keeps getting fired.
Yeah.
But like, no, I know what you mean. Like when you see some of those houses, you're just like, dude, like when you see Jordan's, if you YouTube Jordan's I think it's his old house.
Montel Jordan has a nice house, you're saying?
Montel Jordan was actually in the crowd at the Stand once. And I was like,
really?
Yeah. I was just like, dude.
How'd you do?
Yeah, he was. You know, he always Montel.
If you killed hard, did he say this is how we do it? Can I get it? This is how we do it.
I messed up. It wasn't Montel Jordan. It was Montel Williams.
I was gonna say because I was like, I would recognize Montel Williams. I'm like, I would not recognize Montel.
No, Montel Williams was a frequent audience member at the old stand.
So I bet you Montel Jordan. That's like a point of contention that he doesn't get recognized enough. Like
he probably gets called Montel Williams all the time. He's like, I'm not Montel Williams.
Yeah, how many like famous Montels are there? They must both have gotten that. Like, how many people were like, dude, I was just at a Montel Williams concert. That dude fucking crushed.
Oh, that dude's But yeah, no.
And honestly, Montel Jordan's probably technically the more famous one, but Montel Williams is the more recognizable one.
Whose money would you rather have, Montel Williams or Montel Jordan?
I think Jordan's got it coming in.
I think like Jordan has more money because that song is just making him crazy.
He probably makes $1 million a year just on the song, like without
for the rest of his life.
For the rest of his
life. Is Montel Williams still doing the show?
I don't know.
No, I haven't been
following. I don't know his news. I don't know Montel Williams' news stuff as much. I'm more of
familiar with his old catalog.
I'm like a Montel Williams hipster. Yeah, like I liked him before he was cool.
Oh shit, dude! You guys, man. So what's next for you guys? You guys just gonna keep throwing out these videos, right?
The YouTube stuff's pretty aggressive. Yeah. So I mean, doing a ton of that. So yeah, video every Monday. I do a street interview every Wednesday, and then my podcast every Friday, and like a bunch of other stuff. And Danny, same sort of thing. But we're making a movie. It looks like, so that's gonna be like. There's something that's cool. It's like, when we're talking about this industry stuff and canceling, like I have started to like meet with a lot of these, production companies, and they're all coming around, and all these places are kind of like they want to meet you, but like. You talk to them and they're like, oh, we think your stuff's so funny and we want to work with you. And then you talk to them a little more and you're like, I know you think you do, but it's like, you think you do, but I don't think you do. You know what I mean? So I think the industry's still a little behind, but with the movies, that's the one big thing right now in my mind that you can do a big like cultural thing that you don't need anyone's approval and it can be a big hit. So you can kind of make a big industry mark without anyone greenlighting it. So we can independently finance it. So that's why we have like, a lot of the financing set up and all the pieces have come together. So it's moving pretty fast. And it looks like that might be the move to make this movie. So that might be like a big part of what happens in 2021.
You don't need, and see, like, as far as like being successful, what has made me, and I always talk to comedians about this, what has made me successful in stand-up and always kind of moving in the right direction, whether fast or slow, but always, going up, would be that short-term and long-term goal. See, what you just said, I always tell a comic, I'm like, if your goal is a comedy album in 2020, then fucking get it done in 2020. And you're saying, I'm going to make a movie in 2021. When that's in the back of the mind, that's what fucking goes. And dude, you don't need, and you know what's funny? They're all full of shit. I'm going to tell you this right now. They're all full of shit. Anybody going, hey, Ryan, Danny, man, we love everything. It's like, no, you don't love what we're doing. You love our numbers and you love the business, what we could bring to you, but you don't love what we're doing. Because I know TV executives that told me if they heard what was said behind closed doors, okay, there'd be fucking discrimination lawsuits all over. Okay.
You know what though, Paul? I actually prefer, I've been saying this a lot. Like the issue is, like even when we have all these conversations with these networks or whatever, and they're kind of like, if it's Comedy Central, they're like, want to make sure you hate Trump enough. And if it's like these other ones, like the right-wing ones, they want to make sure you like Trump enough. And you go, it should go back to the old days where they're like, I don't know what this guy's up to, but the kids seem to like it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's what it should be.
Yes.
They should be just looking at the numbers and like kind of the energy and being like, I don't even care if they watch the videos. That's what they should be able to do. Like good at feeling energy where they're like, fuck, there's something going on here. We should get, and then I shouldn't have to explain to you anything about what my perspective is or like, what Congress people, if I'm on the right side of a Congress.
You don't get it and just that it's going to make you money. It's just like nobody, it seems like nobody cares about making, like they don't care about making money anymore.
Well, they care, but they're like they're afraid to lose their job, so there's only one way they're allowed to make it. So that's boxed off in their mind. That's why when someone people like us just cross the picket lines and they're like, oh, you can't say this. And you're like, well, I'm going to, and everyone likes it. And they're like, but you're not supposed to. That's what makes them so mad.
It almost seems
like, well, we can't. And you're like,
it's almost like a Canadianization of the American system in a way. Because it's like that's how it is in Canada, where it's like they're like we just can't say that stuff, and then it seemed like it was always like America was like the places that they took all the risks, and now it seems like it's just less so.
Well, they want to make the money. They got to make the money with the advertisers, but they got to do it the way that they want to do it. And
it's their fault. It's a loop. The advertisers are pussies because they told them to be. So all these friggin' media people are basically like, everyone has to be woke. This is how you have to do it. And then the advertisers are like, loud and clear, like we got to be this. And then if they want to do anything else, the advertisers are like, well, what I thought we were supposed to be, everything's got to telling guys they're rapists or whatever. And they're like,
I knew something took a turn where we had this like monster clip, guys, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that to be arrogant.
Let me see. Was it Ramon?
What's that?
Vintage Bang Bros Ramon. It was a monster.
Yeah, I gave him
Vintage
that.
Monsters clip. Monsters of.
I had this monster clip of stand-up that we did, and we had it, and a big network. I'll tell you guys I can't say it here.
Teletoon.
I had this clip and we were like, oh dude, we got to show this. And like, so we went and there was like one joke in there, which I knew if it was any sort of, it's not like anti-feminist, but it just kind of, it has a little, something in there that I go, if somebody who's like over the top with this is not going to like it. And they were like, oh man, this is going to be great. Let's see it. We'll talk. And then when they talked, it was like, yeah, we're just kind of a little nervous. And I was like, wow, okay. So that's what it is right now. It's like, it's not about, unfortunately, when you're dealing with other people, it's not really about the content. It's about what's safe.
You know what I do when
they don't want to get fired.
They don't want to get fired, but if like there was a chick that if she works in the industry and she calls you and she's like, we have a problem with this joke, and you're like, how many sandwiches are not getting made while we're having this phone call right now? So you have to let them know that
it's lay down the law.
Dude, it's fucking that's the nature of the game. But it always was the nature of the game that there's a list of things you can't say. Like we said before, it was like, you couldn't talk about Jesus before in like, a proper way. It's always going to be moving, but right now it is tougher because there's such a stronghold on culture, and it's such a religion from the inside out that you're supposed to be like this. That it is a different, I think it's different than, even though the principle's the same, this one is different and probably more aggressive than has been before.
I think what's scarier about this one, honestly, is that I think some comedians and some people in our profession are buying into it. I was talking to Bobby Kelly the other day.
100% they do. They're the reason for it. Yeah.
Bobby Kelly and I were talking, and he said he was talking to comedians at a club. Comedians, and one goes, "You can't say that," and it was just like, I can say whatever the fuck I want to say. It's like, because what happens is if you start as a performer, start buying into that shit, and you put it out, it's almost like when somebody infiltrates the mob, right? It's almost you can't get fucking rooted out from the inside. It's like, we got to look at it like, no, dude, this is our shit. And this is what keeps it going. And once you do that, fuck that, man.
Well, yeah, you go, who gets to decide like what I say? My conscience and the audience laughs. Those are the only two factors. They want to add another rung where they go, I felt good about saying this, like with my conscience, and the audience liked it. And then they go, well, you can't though. They want to add another
I thought, I don't want to like name, but like the craziest thing that I saw all year was, no, I'm sure you'll know who I'm talking about, but there was a comedian who, with the Shane Gillis thing, who were like, gave him tons of shit, like wrote an article in like CNN and then came out with a book about how you should be able to say whatever you want, and stand up is this like sacred thing where you should say, and you're like, you literally gave a comic shit for like,
they have no problem holding
and then like
came
positions. Out with a fucking book that was like the exact opposite position of like what you just said 2 weeks ago.
The first thing I thought of when you were saying that, maybe it's because you're Canadian, was Trudeau in blackface. As
that too.
I was just like, that lion piece.
He can't stop. He's addicted.
He can't stop. He's addicted to blackface.
That's his
he does
fetish.
His fucking knees.
That's his fetish. Is just blackface. Like
he does his whole body.
Well, this is why, because when he's having sex with his wife, if he does it in blackface, he can look in the mirror and imagine that she's getting cucked.
Dude, what's the deal? Like, I know this is going to sound completely ignorant. What's the deal with your presidential terms as far as how long do they stay in office there?
Our prime minister. Wow.
Prime minister.
It's like disrespect.
Sorry. Your prime minister.
4 to 5 years. He was elected in 2015, and then he was.
But they can go forever. There's no term limit.
Yeah, there's no term limits.
So he can just keep getting voted in.
Yeah, like a king.
Yeah, but basically, it eventually ends. But he's doing, like, people like him for the most part. Some people don't. I don't know what COVID's going to do to him. Like,
what's the longest prime minister in Canadian history?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Maybe
his dad.
Two ago was 12 years, I think.
Harper was 10 years.
I said Chrétien.
Chrétien was longer? I don't know.
Whatever. Who gives a fuck?
What part of Canada are you guys from?
Toronto. The 6.
Okay.
As Drizzy Drake says.
Are you guys sports fans or no?
Yeah.
Him more than me, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So you got your Toronto across the board, Leafs, fucking.
Yeah. Leafs. I was at game 5. I was at the game where Durant blew Kevin Durant's last game. I was there, game 5 of the NBA Finals.
Dude, you guys lost your shit. You know who lost his shit was Alex Pavone.
I know. He's like a good friend.
Dude, it was almost crazy. It was almost bizarre. I said to him, I go, dude, like, this is not, you got to get help, man. Like, you got to get you got to get a relationship or something. Cause this is not like, he was like, dude, he goes, I don't know what's going to happen. He actually said to me, like, he goes, I saw him at New York Comic Con. He goes, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I was just like, dude.
Like, sounds just like him.
You don't know what's gonna happen to you. That's what it's gonna take for your fucking downfall,
dude.
I mean, what would you do if the Knicks actually had a shot of win? Like, are you a Knicks fan?
I mean, I'm so diehard Knicks fan that, like, I might.
So it's like, imagine if they were, like, on the precipice of winning the NBA Finals. You'd probably be a fucking mess,
dude. Whether they're on
it'll never happen, but.
Dude, whether they're on the precipice of that or not, I still got to get my fucking kids breakfast. It's not going to take me down.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
You're not going to be like, dude, did you hear what happened to Virzi? Be like, yeah, dude, it fell apart. The Knicks lost. Like, no, I mean, like, yeah, he just.
Bobby's a fragile guy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah, he is.
Dude, the city had 9 parades. Legitimately, there was every single day. It was like a new parade for the Raptors. It made like the George Floyd protest look infrequent.
But dude, when Drake, this is when I got annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. When Drake started, like, telling the coach shit during the game, I was just like, dude, he would like, he would, like, lean over.
Ambassador.
Like, dude, you were like, dude, are you telling him who to sub right now?
He gets in the mix.
They got it done. Drake got it done.
People were getting mad at Drake though in Toronto though too. People were like, there was like, it was pretty split on whether people like Drake.
Dude, they told him he wasn't allowed to go to Golden State to watch the games. The team literally goes, they asked him, they're like, please don't go to the games.
I heard there was like a meeting, an in-house meeting about him. Close the light. I'm on a podcast. My son's like, but dude,
I did a video about it was like a Drake support group for the grown men that were way too into Drake. And one of the things they were arguing, they were like, you don't think he's a little annoying at the basketball games? He goes, he's got players coming for Toronto that would never dream of living in the 6 if it wasn't for Drake. Because like he made it cool.
Dude, I remember we were at the Montreal Festival and Godfrey just gets on stage. I don't know if he's in a bad mood, and he's just telling the Canadian crowd, "Fuck Drake, man, fuck Drake." And I'm just going like, all right.
There's lots of people that don't like him though. There's as many people that don't like him
as much as I've talked shit about the guy, as much as I've been like, that's not hip hop, as much as like I'm like, from what I grew up with, I'm like, guy's got
it's not New York hip hop.
The guy's got a couple of bangers. I'm just like,
oh, of course.
He's all bangers.
Dude, they're all fuck. You all bop your head to it, but
yeah, he's all bangers.
Honestly, dude, Ryan, Danny, man, the shit you guys are doing, and when I tell you, just know this: monster comedians and many people that are out there are seeing what you're doing. They're loving what you're doing, and you know, I don't know how many times I've had somebody come on the podcast that I never met. Did we ever meet in the circuit as like passing by ever?
I don't think so, because it's only been.
I remember
4
seeing
months.
you at the. Yeah, I remember seeing.
Oh, maybe
you at the stand.
I don't know if I did.
I remember seeing you at the stand before. I don't think we met though. I just saw you on stage at the stand. Before COVID.
Yeah, it's like, but seeing what you guys are doing, how refreshing it is, how needed it is, and fucking, it's just really great. And so many of us, you know, think about it. Everybody loves it, and
well, it's so cool, dude. I mean, even coming here, it's like, like you and a handful of other people that have been like super cool to us is like why it was at the beginning. It was fucking awesome. So
you guys, because
New York's been super cool, man, and
it's
like you've done tons of awesome shit. So it obviously is important to hear that, and it feels cool.
No, it's well deserved, and you guys are fucking hilarious, and I wish you all the best. And you know, we'll definitely talk and meet again. Hopefully, we'll see each other on the circuit.
Yeah, dude, I see Sal around. Like, there's because you know there's like people in your kind of crew that are kind of kicking around. But like, do you ever come to the stand like these days?
You know what? I went down there during the day to do a shoot for something. They were doing some food shoot,
cooking or something.
You know, something, and I went down for that, but not so much stand up yet. But no, man, that was my home. The early one was the first one was my home, and then I started obviously working into this one, and you know, going back and forth in the city, always there. And now this shit happened, so it's brutal. I just I hope it lasts. I hope that people fucking show up, and you know, this is craziness.
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah, that'd be awesome. Hope to see you soon. Fucking get a drink or something.
Oh, dude, we'll definitely get a drink, dude. We'll talk shop and the whole deal. But you guys are great, man, and thank you so much for being on the Virzi Effect.
Thanks, buddy. Peace.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, later, guys.